But the issue isn't, propaganda has always been around, but people are so stupid and hateful, they buy it. They buy the dumbest propaganda. Have you ever actually watched an episode of the Joe Rogan podcast? Have you seen Nick Shirley talk? Have you seen Nick Shirley give a speech and read words off a teleprompter? People see that and they go, yeah, he's my dude. 100%, man. I'll follow him into battle anywhere. He's got a good handle on things. That's all you need to know. We're not getting out of this. We're not. All right? Democratic Party, ever heard of it? They are one of the two major American political parties, next to, of course, the Whig Party. They're the ones that are still around. The Democrats have been winning a lot of elections recently, which is good, preferable to the alternative. We like it. But they have a perception amongst the American people of being a bunch of stupid who suck dick and eat just not ones that matter. Well, I'm not sure I would agree with that 100%. I think that actually, the thing is, special elections, and then we have the upcoming midterms, things like that, they definitely matter, but there is an issue at the federal level. You are correct about that. And we'll talk all about it. But the Democratic Party is in a very weird place right now because their approval rating is dog right now. Very, very bad. Let's look it up. Current Democratic Party approval rating. They do have, see, this is the thing, man. This is the thing. You gotta actually look stuff up. Because if you had asked me, I would have been like, I don't know, I think everybody rates the Democratic Party in the toilet. It's actually not that bad at all. In fact, the favorability rating of the Democratic Party hovers in the low to mid 40s, although they hold a slight edge in party preference over Republicans. Okay? Now, the Democratic Party approval rating, I believe, is the lowest it's ever been in history. Is the Democratic Party red or blue? Sometimes you need to remember how stupid Americans are. People are allowed to vote who are literally going, which is the red and which is the blue? If I pick my nose hard enough, I think I will come. And that is how I have a baby. Is the Democratic, forgot how to spell words, Party approval rating the lowest in history? I believe I've heard that before. Yes, the Democratic Party's approval and favorability ratings have hit historic lows. So the Democratic Party reaches lowest favorability rating in the history of several major polling organizations. The Democratic Party's favorability plunged to 28%. Favorable view of the party dropped to 27. NBC News, Gallup 34. Disapproval 63. Broad approval for Democrats in Congress dropped to 21%. So yeah, I think that it is worth noting that they are viewed more favorably than the Republican Party right now. It's we're in the cool zone, everybody. We're in a good place for America where both of the options that people have, they hate. They're kind of like, I'm going to vote third party, which is here's the thing about voting third party. That's not how a first post voting system works. Like, feel free, if it's fun, you get a sticker, who gives a shit. You're not actually contributing to democracy. Secondly, even if you were, actually look at third party candidates, okay? Even if she could win, actually look at Jill Stein. That dumb just comes out of her little hiding hole every 3.5 years to be like, actually the Democrats are gay. Das Vidanya. And goes dinner with Vladimir Putin. Suck my dick. Who is what happened last year where Cornel West, who again is very irritating, he has stupid hair and he calls everyone my brother, which is like, stop it. You were running for president. You're not starring in a 70s porno. Get your Heather Cornell West. But I think he was first running for like some dumb independent Whig party or something. And then he was like, I actually found out that I don't like this party, so now I'm running in the Green Party, and you switched over. Like, you're not serious people, all right? But anyway, back to the Democratic Party. They are not viewed favorably, yet they keep winning elections. Elections that hopefully might matter, although the Republican Party is definitely speed-running executive power as much as they can. In some cases, they're doing better than I'd like. In other cases, the legal system is keeping them down. The guardrails hold sometimes, not as much. We'll see when the actual midterms happen. The apparatus, the apparatus that is designed to keep Republicans in power is not designed to keep any particular Republican in power. Remember that. It's not designed to help Donald Trump. It incidentally helps him because he happens to be the Republican nominee for president because he most froths up the stupid feral hog people that vote Republican. He says, Rosie O'Donnell is a fat. She sucks. No one liked her show. Pretended to like Tom Cruise. Actually, she was a big old lesbo. We all knew it. And they go, I will die for you. I will give my firstborn son for you. I love you. On the weekends, I drive my truck through mud as an activity. To what end? Who benefits? No one knows. I love it. Hurts your throat to do an impression of the stupid, really inferior Trump supporters who are bad people. If you voted for Trump and you support Donald Trump, you're a bad person, and you should feel bad, and you're right to be lonely and unhappy all day long. Let me just throw that out there. But, the systems of power, it's the reason why, the Supreme Court will deny Donald Trump things. Like when he wanted, Abrego Garcia, who is that guy? Remember when that was the biggest news story in the world like a year ago? He wanted him to be shot in the back of the head and put in an unmarked grave. And the Supreme Court was like, no, you actually have to bring him back because doing what Donald Trump wanted in that moment would not help Republicans continue having power in the long term. Same reason they often save Trump from himself in terms of things like tariffs. They'll keep extending or denying him those and that because they know that hurts their chances of keeping Republican in power. But then we have things like redistricting maps in Virginia, drinking tea, not drunk. Okay. It's hard. You sitting there judging me, say it out loud right now. Redistricting maps in Virginia or wherever it was, they'll throw those out because those could help Republicans lose. All right? Now, the hope is that for the midterms, all the dumb doing isn't enough and Democrats conquer. They just trounce, win the House, maybe even take back the Senate. Now, a couple things with that. A, not predicting it. All right? The voter suppression, the real voter suppression they admit to, not these conspiracies where it's like Elon Musk's Starlink changed the votes and that's why, whoever, Marianne Williamson actually won Maryland or whatever dumb happened. I haven't seen a lot of evidence of that. I find that a little hard to believe. Just say it. Who cares? Truth doesn't matter. But I find it hard to believe that it was that official, especially because, or not that official, but that blatant of just, changing votes, because they don't need to. They just have voter suppression. They have gerrymandering. They have all the shit they do that they admit that they do. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's just a fact. Okay? That's just out there in the world. So there's been enough of that, and even more so over the course of the past, 2 years, that I find it hard to believe that we will ever really see a blowout victory for Democrats, and maybe not for anyone, ever again. And also the Democrats are just kind of unpopular right now. They win special elections because people who vote in those are especially politically activated. Same thing with midterms, a little bit less so, but same thing with midterms. So they know how bad the Republican Party is. The average person doesn't know. They maybe have noticed that gas is too expensive, but at the same time, Sydney Sweeney's going to do another advertisement for soap next week, I'm sure. And they'll be like, oh, I forgot. Gas. Why is gas $9? I think it because immigrants are trans. I think it is because of that. So there's no hope for anything. And on the federal level, Democrats can't win because too many stupid people vote in federal elections. The problem, again, as I sit here and discuss American politics, what you'll discover is that everybody who's out there offering their verdict of why the Democrats lost in 2024 or why they're not popular in general, people will always put it in their pet kind of cause. You know what I'm saying? Like last week, I was watching that Brianna Joy Gray ContraPoints video with you guys. And at one point, Brianna Joy Gray is just like, but no, the Democrats can win anytime they want. All they have to do is just, and then she says something vague, like, all they have to do is turn their back on Israel. It's like, what do you mean? And she doesn't know what she's saying. And it's just not that simple. First off, Americans don't vote on foreign policy, all right? That's an old chestnut that, guess what? The numbers back up. It was not an issue listed as the top amongst exit polls and things of that nature. But, you'll see in this autopsy we're going to talk about, it's not something that pops up there either. No one really gives a shit about it. But for a lot of online lefties, all they think about all day is Gaza. And so they think that's the number one issue. Or they think like, well, the problem is the Democratic Party isn't socialist enough. If they were just socialist, we could do it, and then we would win every election. Or people are like, some people who their number one issue is like housing reform. They'll say, the problem is housing reform. We need blah, blah, blah. Everyone thinks it's their pet issue. And the thing is, nobody, except for me, the smartest man on earth. And some are saying the most above average penis. The biggest? No, just the most above average. How does that work? Science doesn't know yet. They're running tests still. Let me tell you, it singes. No, I'm the only one who can actually look at this and present the true information. The actual true reading of it, which is Americans are stupid and hateful. Americans are dog, right? Is it because of billionaires? They're not helping with their, buying social media platforms, buying magazines, buying newspapers. The way in which the billionaire is really committed to propaganda, which is nothing new. Propaganda isn't new, and wealthy people using propaganda isn't. I mean, obviously, it's been around as long as there's been the concept of media, the concept of spreading information to other human beings. But even if you look at something relatively recent in terms of human history, like go back, 100 years ago and ask William Randolph Hearst how he feels about, Marion Davis's pussy and what's the other thing? Hemp. Ask him how he feels about those two things. Google it since Gutenberg. Since the first caveman drew on the side of a cave wall and said, vote for Nader. That was the first one. Yes, propaganda isn't anything new, and billionaires are a new concept, but the wealthy, the elite, whatever, they've long been in favor of controlling the way you think. But with what's unprecedented is not their motivations or their methods, really. What's unprecedented is the sheer amount of information that we are being presented with every day. A message can be reinforced in ways we have not seen before, for good or for bad, and mostly it's been for bad. But the issue isn't, propaganda has always been around, but people are so stupid and hateful, they buy it. They buy the dumbest propaganda. Have you ever actually watched an episode of the Joe Rogan podcast? Have you seen Nick Shirley talk? Have you seen Nick Shirley give a speech and read words off a teleprompter? People see that and they go, yeah, he's my dude. 100%, man. I'll follow him into battle anywhere. He's got a good handle on things. That's all you need to know. We're not getting out of this. We're not. All right? Even if Democrats, and I don't predict this happening because A, it's hard to do, and B, Democrats don't like doing things. But even if they manage to get the House and the Senate later this year, I guess it would be early next year when everyone's sworn in, but whatever, you get what I'm saying. Even if that manages to happen, which I don't predict, I think they'll probably get the House. I don't think they'll get the Senate. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Would love to see it. It's possible, entirely possible. Republicans are really popular right now, okay? Even if that happens, and even if they actually do what needs to be done, which is to impeach not just Donald Trump. That's a great start. Impeach Donald Trump. You would need, I think, a 60-vote majority, which they're not going to have. But let's pretend like we live in a crazy world where they get enough support, both from their party and from some Republicans who are willing to do it. Trump is unpopular. A few rats are like, let's cast off this sinking ship. Even if they do that, what happens in 4 years, in 3 years, in 4 years? People are so stupid, and politics gets boring again. We have a Gavin Newsom in 2028. He's elected, and he does a fine job. He runs the country. It's fine. He doesn't institute socialism. He doesn't Israel. He doesn't officially castrate every white teenage boy, which maybe he should do that one, actually. And that one I could be talked into. But it's fine. He keeps things going. Poor are poor. The rich get richer. It is what it is. Eventually, everyone's going to get bored and angry again, just because that's the cycles that they live in. But anyway, after the DNC, nay, Kamala Harris, the woman who you're seeing right there, Kooky Kamala, they called her. I think that was an actual term being used by right-wing media in the 2024 election. Kooky Kamala, she laughs weird. And it worked. And it worked. So we deserve all of it. Remember that. Every time you get another terrifying news story about Donald Trump, remember that we all deserve this. I'm going to today. She was the presidential nominee in 2024. After Joe Biden, the then president, seemed to be doing well. And remember, what we're seeing right now in terms of special elections and Democratic overperformance, it is even more stark than it was during the Biden presidency. But we saw a similar thing in the Biden presidency in terms of Democrats greatly outperforming at local elections. Because more stupid people vote in federal elections because more people vote in federal elections. Most Trump supporters don't know what a midterm is. No, we did an election. Trump won it, dude. And Trump's going to win the next one. And if it's not Trump, it's going to be Jake Paul. Dude, he's great. So we were seeing that before. And Joe Biden, if he had kept it together on debate night, maybe we'd be under President Biden right now. Who's to say? But he did a debate with Donald Trump. And do you know how bad you have to do to, in a debate with Donald Trump, everyone go, oh man, that other guy sure was senile. Yeah, the guy who wasn't Donald Trump. I don't know if he was all there in the head, And he brains out through his doo-doo on live television. And about 2 weeks later, they were like, all right, you're out. And so he announced he wasn't seeking re-election. They put up his vice president, Kamala Harris, who had lost the primaries in 2020, has some failings as a politician that are myriad, and you can dig into them. But she was appointed because in 2020, Joe Biden, who can tell the difference? Joe Biden had committed to having, am I correct? He committed to having a black and a female vice president. I'm not sure. She, I think, was not the best pick that he could have done for vice president, although they won in 2020. And I think in 2024, she ran an okay campaign with the card she was dealt. She had whatever it was, 100 and some odd days, a couple of months. She was facing an incredibly hostile media environment. I think that there were certainly mistakes made in the running of the campaign. people talk about like, oh man, she campaigned with Liz Cheney. And I was like, she had like 2 events with Liz Cheney. I think that it's a sort of synecdoche of something larger, which is a desire to appeal to moderate Republicans that the Democrats have and is silly. There aren't moderate Republicans anymore. It's the party of Trump. You're not going to get them. They've had 3 chances now. The Republican Party has had 2016, 2020, and 2024 to prove that they are not a cult of Donald Trump. You can read all about it in her book. I'm going to tell you something. There's a number of things I'm not going to do. And it's not the top of that list. Top of that list is probably like, I don't know, touching a snake. But in the top 50, top 100 things I'm not going to do, one of the items is read Kamala Harris's book. And again, I'm not a Kamala Harris hater. I think she did an okay job. I don't give a shit. She's done. She wasn't the person for the moment. Move on. Move on. You're done. Okay. I forget what I was saying. I lost my whole train of thought now. But she had a very hostile media environment, and I think that she also, the whole Liz Cheney thing. Yes, I'm back on track. Again, stone cold sober, drinking peppermint tea. Tasty. Republicans have had 3 opportunities to prove they are not a cult of Donald Trump, and he has gotten more votes each time. Abandon them. Okay? Now, the failures of 2024, relitigating them, is only useful insofar as it can provide a map for what Democrats can do next, how they can win, presuming they want to win, which is not a universally agreed upon proposition. Well, after a big party loses an election, they tend to run what's called an autopsy. They hire people, or in the case of this autopsy, have someone volunteer and do it for free, which maybe you get what you pay for, as we'll find out in a second. But you want to find out how you can do better next time. All right? In 2012, the Republican Party ran an autopsy after Mitt Romney lost to Barack Obama. This is something nobody knows and nobody talks about because everyone who is doing online politics, I think, was born maybe in March of 2016. They don't remember anything that happened before Trump. Trump just assumed everything. But they ran, and this might give you a sense of how important and how, much you should trust these autopsies. The 2012 autopsy done on Mitt Romney's campaign, and came back with the conclusion that, in fact, they should try to appeal to minorities more. They should maybe tone down on the racism, on the anti-immigration sentiment, all that stuff. And then 4 years later, Donald Trump won. To be fair, he narrowly won, but he continued getting more and more minority support as he progressed. And that's the actual truth of all this stuff, which you can't really put in an autopsy. But, I mean, I guess you can. I can. The Democratic Party, here's the autopsy. If you give me $100,000, I'll tell you the autopsy. Or alternatively, give me nothing, but promise that you do the DNC in Chicago again, and I get one of those pretzels at United Center. Because they smell good. I've never had one. Here's the autopsy. Nothing matters anymore. It's just vibes. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're a Democrat, it doesn't really matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you say in general. Everyone consumes all of their news through TikTok algorithm clips. Everyone consumes their news through headlines and 5-second little sound bites. And all information is manufactured. Everything you think or believe was chosen by a billionaire. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but that band Geese, when it came out, that all of their popularity, maybe some fans of the band would say, oh no, it's not all of their popularity. It's all of their popularity. It came from the marketing firm Chaotic Good creating fake accounts on YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, wherever, to push the band, to like, to comment, to push them into the algorithms. And I said it was the most important news story in the world, which I think is true, and I stand behind. But a lot of people said I was crazy. They said I was crazy. Yeah? Well, who's crazy now, Dad? I don't know. It doesn't matter, is my point. What you say, what you do, nothing matters except the vibes you can create on social media. That's the only thing that matters. That's what it seems like to me. Others disagree. But the DNC ran this autopsy, and they said, Ken Martin, the head of the DNC, came out and said, we're going to release it. I know everyone wants to see it. We're going to release it. And then shortly afterwards, he said, just kidding about that. It was a joke. It was a bit. I'm never going to release it. Don't worry about it. And, of course, everybody lost their mind. All the lefties were like, it's because of Gaza. 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 It's definitely because of Gaza. We know that every single person voted based on a war in the Middle East that's been going on longer than anyone's been alive. Okay. That's the reason Kamala Harris lost. The number one thing we know about Americans is that they vote on foreign policy and they know what foreign policy is. That's the thing. The average American definitely could spell Israel right now. Well, Ken Martin got a lot of flack from a variety of different people for not releasing the autopsy. And then today, or maybe yesterday, it was leaked. So here's a news story from PBS News. I'm a fan. I get all my news from Cookie Monster, so I like going to PBS. 4 takeaways from the DNC's long-awaited 2024 election autopsy report. It's never a good sign when a report comes with a big red disclaimer at the top of each page. But that's what happened on Thursday, which was today, when the Democratic National Committee belatedly released its controversial autopsy report on the 2024 election. Here's the full one right here. It's a 192-page report. It was concluded last December and authored by Democratic consultant Paul Rivera. Okay? He did it for free. Ken Martin said that he just volunteered and did it. And maybe you get what you paid for. Here's the DNC report. It's all right here. It's a whole PDF. Got it. Disclaimer, blah, blah, blah. Title page, build to win, build to last. Leadership message, introduction, yes, yes, yes. The funny thing is, if you go to the very end of this thing, where is it? Sources, notes for the reader. This section was not completed. Appendices. This section was not provided by the author. Conclusion. This section was not provided by the author. So, turns out that maybe a problem the Democratic Party actually has, in addition to the fact that nothing matters and nothing anyone actually says means anything and it's all just about vibes, is maybe you shouldn't just keep hiring consultants who suck, who are bad. Hire better people, okay? In every election cycle, the two major parties and hundreds of outside groups invest enormous resources and energy trying to define the terrain for voter choice. What happens at the presidential level certainly impacts down-ballot contests, yet candidates across the ballot in both parties still seek to define choices for voters in their specific elections. From these choices, the voter can decide which choice is most resonant. One party declares itself the winner, and the other party declares and disclares, kind of both, declares that the fight is far from finished. Yeah, this is definitely some like middle school history essay trying to get to 5 pages. Just crank up the font. He says it has to be 10 points. It's going to be 10.5. He won't notice. The desire, whatever, John Adams argued liberty cannot be preserved without a general knowledge among the people who have a right and a desire to know. Well, let's do some control F-ing on this real quick. Gaza, 0. Israel, 0. Palestine, 0. Gay, sex, 0. I'm not sure I'm actually searching this correct. Let's see. F. Election. See, there's a lot of elections in here. Kamala, 1 out of 7. Joe Biden won the Electoral College with 306 votes and the popular vote by more than 7 million. Democrats won 4 seats in the Senate, flipping Colorado, Arizona, and both seats in Georgia, while losing Alabama. This created a tie in the Senate, with Vice President Kamala Harris giving Democrats control. Republicans gained 13 seats in the House, but Democrats retained control with a 5-seat advantage. I don't know. They need to win. They need to move the ball down to the field in the end zone. Let me tell you something. Reminds me of what my old pappy used to say. Let me tell you something. If you're out there to win, what you want to do, you want to get more points than the other guy. All right? That's what my pappy always said. If the other team has 6 points, you got to get 7. Okay. Sounds good, man. I'll get right on that. Look at this. However, no mention of the 2020 election can ignore the abject insanity. This guy, Paul Rivera, going off. January 6th insurrection and the chaos it wrought throughout the entire political firmament. Nearly 30,000 people stormed the United States Capitol building, leading to the death of 5 people, including one Capitol police officer who was beaten to death by the insurrectionists. Claim contradicts public reporting. Yeah, I don't think that's true. Was a police officer beaten to death? I think there was a guy who had a heart attack later. Okay, let me Google it. How many people died on January 6th? January 6th. One person died by homicide on the day of January. It was Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by a U.S. Capitol police officer while attempting to climb through a barricaded door. And the thing is, that is, sad, and our hearts go out to Ashley Babbitt. It is one less vote for Trump. So, you consider, kind of consider. Also, you got to remember that officially, according to MAGA, God saved Donald Trump from getting shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, and just narrowly moved the bullet so it only hit his ear. And then God said, yo, that firefighter behind him. That guy sucks. Him. Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. Oh, Charlie Kirk, you're against trans surgery? Guess what? I'm going to give you a new hole, buddy. I'm going to give your neck bottom surgery. Enjoy. Ashley Babbitt. Remember her? Look at her face. Let's hate this dead woman. Ashley Babbitt. Yeah, that's a psycho. All right. Listen, I'm not saying it's good that she died. I don't like people to die. It's sad that she died. I mean, sad because anybody died, I mean, it resulted in much, much less chili hostesses getting yelled at in the world. So that's good. It resulted in several less really unpleasant Yelp comments being left about Joanne Fabrics locations. It's illegal to make fun of Charlie Kirk. I'm not making fun of Charlie Kirk. I think it was brave of him to get bottom surgery on his neck. That's brave of him. And in fact, I would never say that that every night Erica Kirk goes, "Oh, Charlie, you think you're the throat goat? Watch this." And then does the kind of acts that would make Bonnie Blue go, "Jesus, woman, have some respect for yourself. Good God. You don't. You're Cash Patel. He literally can't make eye contact." Is this where I get banned from Twitch, this stream? The thing is, I'm just a very edgy boy. I just like making edgy jokes. I like saying things. It's fun to have bad thoughts. It's fun. I saw a guy at gym the other day I was talking about the gym earlier. It's a big gym. On Tuesday, I saw a guy at the gym that had the shirt that said Charlie Kirk Freedom. And he was doing a lot of workouts. I'm like, but you know what you need to do? More neck crunches. If Charlie Kirk had just done more neck crunches, he could have bounced the bullet. Remember when that happened? That was about a year ago, roughly, a little bit less than a year ago. Charlie Kirk got shot, and there was like 3 days where it was like, all right, this is going to be their Reichstag fire. And then it turns out that no one cares about anything and no one believes anything. And so consequently, the death of Charlie Kirk just became another thing to make memes about. And Charlie Kirk has to just watch entire football team wife. And listen, it's very sad that Charlie Kirk died. But on the plus side, with one less Republican man in the House, his daughter's chances of getting molested plummeted. Just very unlikely now. CIA kind of come get me any moment now? Okay. Ashley Babbitt, a 35-year-old American United States Air Force veteran. I don't know why this makes sense. Pool supply owner. That is exactly who all these people are, man. It's this that people have where they're like, well, actually, MAGA is, the proletariat. They're just the working. No, they all own pool supply businesses. They all own like dealerships. They're not working at all. She was a supporter of QAnon. Remember when that was a thing? And then it all just became true, but it was Republicans doing it mostly, and they kind of just ignored that. That's exactly the point, all right? When all this Epstein stuff came out, and there was a little bit of a moment of people going, well, QAnon was right. And I'm like, no, but you don't understand. QAnon didn't have thoughts. It was a combination of a bit being done by edgy people online because they thought it was funny to brainwash people. And to be fair, they are right. It was bad to do, but it was hilarious. Okay? QAnon was very funny. It destroyed the fabric of Western civilization, but it was hilarious. All right? Thumbs down, but I am laughing. It's a combination of that and actual political actors like Steve Bannon who wanted to get more control over the dumbest people in society. And so, by the time the Epstein stuff came out and everyone was like, well, QAnon will be happy because they were vindicated. And it's like, no, the button stopped being pressed. The people in charge of these things stopped pressing the goose button. I'm referring to the band Geese, which is not the band Goose. Goose is a jam band. Geese is a bunch of like jazz kids from Brooklyn. So the band Geese is what the Goose button is named after, not the band Goose, who ironically the Geese button is named after. And that's the button that sends a bunch of geese to your enemies to attack them. No, they were pressing the goose button and controlling what everybody thought. And then they stopped because Trump got elected. And like, who gives a shit? And so no one cared about QAnon anymore. No one gives a shit. Even though, like, in as much as it's true, and it largely wasn't, because QAnon wasn't just that the rich and powerful kids. Like, to be honest, everyone kind of knows that. That's not news to anybody. It was specifically that, like, someone inside the White House who was on Donald Trump's side. Because remember, Donald Trump, who was president when this started, was still an outsider fighting the deep state. But someone in the deep state Q is talking about the plan, and it's kind of all that stupid. None of that was true. QAnon was mostly not true. The degree as to which there were things that were accurate, yeah, obviously. Q was Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't think that's true, but know that famous, there was that Reddit account, Maxwell Hill or something like that people said was Ghislaine Maxwell. Maybe. We know that the kid who created the poll board on 4chan met with Jeffrey Epstein the day before it was created. And that was the focus point of a lot of the kind of culture war incel. I don't know. Anyway, the DNC autopsy doesn't prove anything. Data appears to be inaccurate and contradicts public reporting. Analysis not supported by publicly available data. No sourcing provided for several claims in this section. In 2022, Joe Biden was president. Yeah, it seems like the reluctance to release it on the part of the DNC was not because of like Israel or something. Because as I said before it came out, I was like, I would be shocked. I mean, I always keep space in my heart to be shocked. I'm shocked by things all the time. If I'm wrong, present me information that proves that I'm wrong, and then I'm wrong. And then I move on and I take that information in. I try my hardest to not be ideological, not be philosophical, to just look at actual things and try to, look at them as they actually are. And anyway, I was like, I would be shocked if it turns out Americans give a shit about foreign policy. That would contradict every other information point I have. Again, maybe they do. Maybe I will be shocked. Things contradict me all the time. I am very stupid. But that's not the case at all. That's not the case. All you weirdos online are screaming about it. But that doesn't, actually mean anything. No, it's just because it sucked and was bad. And there's no actual good answer. The problem with the DNC is that the only real solution to get us out of this there's two things that probably would both need to be done. The first is we need to greatly clamp down on social media, especially algorithms. I think it should be illegal to algorithmically present the news. I know that's something that like Taylor Lorenz, who's a really chill, normal, well-balanced person, something she fights against, which probably makes me like it more. But no, I think that, no. Stop with the algorithms. It's too powerful. We can't get into people's heads like that. Stop it. We're done. All right. We need to arrest and probably on television, maybe play a little Minecraft, if you catch my drift, with some of these tech CEOs. We need to greatly clamp down on media apparatuses, basically. And we need to fire a lot of really incompetent people at the DNC. Tasty. If you catch my drift, maybe a little. Yes, we need to. The DNC, the kind of people that are like, I don't know, we lost an election to Donald Trump. We should probably really do some deep soul searching. What if we got to do a free autopsy for us? Where for conclusion he goes, and which to be fair is the best conclusion. Nothing matters. It's the whole autopsy should just be one page that goes, Americans are stupid. Americans watch Nick Shirley videos and buy it. That's all you need. So